Welcome to this demo of our management packs for Netapp storage from Medora. My name is Alain Geritz and I'm one of the solutions architects, one of the techies for our European territory. Well, in this demo I want to show you three important technical points of our management packs that are valid for all our management packs, but I specifically want to show you this on hands in vRealize operations. And first of all is, if you know vRealize operations, you go to administration and under solution you see all the adapters that have been installed for your instance. These adapters are a standard feature of VMware's. It's an architecture that they included in VROps so that you can extend it. And yes, the vSphere adapter is just one of those management packs in the solution here, like vSAN and others. And you see as I scroll down that there are others, Postgres, Oracle, all the ones that have the neat little blue Medora logo are our management packs. And today, of course, we look specifically at Netapp. I was going to say Cisco, but we'll look at that in a second. Netapp storage, and installing these files is really a no-brainer, because if you click the plus here, you just have to browse to a pack file that you get from us when you are a beloved customer that bought a product and can download it. You can download the pack file. It's a special zip file with Java programs, and you just upload it. You can, in recent versions of VROps, even upload it before you install. You can reset the default contents, and that's all you need to do. This literally never goes wrong. You can prove me wrong, you can try, but it's a very solid installation. And then they appear in the list here, and the first big advantage that we have is we never ever use any agents. Not for Netapp storage, not for Oracle databases, never. So you see here for Netapp that I have one adapter instance, and by the way, you can create as many instances as you like with one of our adapters. When I go to the configuration details, you see that I point to the IP address of my Okum host or API services. This needs little explanation for Netapp. This is a choice by Network Appliance, not Blue Medora. But in recent versions of Okum, if you have 6 or more recent 9, Netapp does not allow us to connect to Okum directly to get the data out. We need to connect over something called the API services. It's a software running in a separate Linux VM. So this is the IP address of that Linux VM. If you want to have a look at the install, we'll be happy to share with you the documentation. We also have some excellent installation videos. So just point it to this API. We use this to get the data out. Some parameters like do you want auto discovery or not, you want HTTP or HTTPS, and some credentials. And that's all you need to do. And if you activate that with the license, we start collecting data and bring all the data into VROps. That's most of the magic of what we do. We create the objects and all the necessary metrics. So if you now go to environment, you will see the standard inventory trees that you know and love from VMware, like hosts and clusters. But underneath, you see inventory trees that we create. And this is important because this will show you the second advantage that we have, namely for Netapp storage, for example. Staying with the subject, if I look at the inventory tree for clusters, you see I have one cluster here, and yes, it's an old FAS 3000 that we have in the lab at Blue Medora, but on which we installed a recent ONTAP, which you shouldn't do, but hey, we're a lab environment. And if you click on that, you see, hey, I have some storage virtual machines here and 2 controllers, 1 and 2. And if I click on the first one, you see some aggregates here. This is normal Netapp architecture, of course. And when I click on an aggregate, you see volumes with names like Netapp iSCSI Performance. You can guess what that does. And when I click on that, hey, you see here that this is linked to a VMware data store. And under the data store, you see virtual machines running on that data store. This means that we detect relationships over objects and over management packs. And I think this is probably our most significant advantage, that is these relationship detections. We built these inventory trees, and in one click you can see what data stores are linked to what volumes on the NetApp and which virtual machines are running there. It's very, very important when you go and do troubleshooting, because it allows you, if you troubleshoot, to click on an object and look at only the important connected objects to see if there are any errors there, and not care about any other objects. You don't have to wait through pages and pages of objects to find the right ones. And of course, as I said, we import this NetApp data into vRops. So a controller becomes an object. In vRops, you see a summary, and you see that I'm in the lab. We should really ask for a new license because my license is expired. You see the actions. There are no alerts on this controller, but you see a little summary screen. The capacity remaining on this controller is 0%, which is definitely not good, while the workload is still 94%, so that's not good. See capacity remaining here in red. Lots of things going on here, but no space left on my controller. If I go to all metrics, you can see all the metrics that I gather for a NetApp controller, like, for example, iSCSI performance, my number of iSCSI operations per second. And you see, these are just vRops objects and metrics now, nothing special, and vRops does its own magic on them. You see that any metric we bring in, vRops detects the normal bandwidth of that metric. So here we had a minimum, obviously, and you see that it was around 1660 operations per second, but that's fine because you see the dynamic threshold, as long as I stay between 23 and 2200 operations per second, this is the normal behavior detected by vRops, detected by the analytics engine after at least 3 collection cycles for a metric. That's standard vRops stuff that you probably know, or I hope you know, or go follow the right course. And FCP performance, fiber channel, nothing fiber channel here, but on disk performance, what is my total operations. You see lots and lots of metrics here that you can consult, also about the capacity, and of course for NetApp volumes, even more data here. Let's erase these. Close this one, and then you will see for a volume, I have some capacity parameters. What is my free capacity? 3%, that's not a lot. What is it? This is a nice iSCSI volume, so iSCSI performance again. Very interesting. What is my read latency? What is my write latency? All of this goodness you can consult, and of course vRops takes care of the analysis. So when you need to get a smart alert, you'll get it, because we also include the smart alerts with all our products. Now, as I said, we detect a relationship. So at any point, you can go to a show object relationship here, and you can see that this volume relates to aggregate 2, of course. It lives in aggregate 2. It is connected to this data store and this storage virtual machine, and another data store is living on here, and it's connected to this NetApp LAN. So and of course you notice the little colored blocks that give you status. All fine and dandy. So I showed you 2 advantages already: the easy installation and no agents to get to the data. We use APIs or SNMP if we have to, or JDBC connections for databases, but no agents. And secondly, the relationship detection. And then the third advantage, which customers really love is that with every management pack, we install some default dashboards that we develop. These are installed out of the box in a folder for the product. So for Netapp, you'll see there are always some overview and some detailed dashboards. So overview, if I go to Netapp overview, you get a nice colored heat map of all the elements in the Netapp world and how they are doing, even Snap Mirror. Yes. And of course, these are standard vRops dashboards. You can use these, you can edit them, you can change them if you want to, you can use them in your own dashboards. We don't care, we just love if you use them. So overview dashboards for Netapp to make sure that you can start right away with this product and that you get value of it right away. The detailed dashboards, for example, Netapp Performance, will show you, here you go, the Netapp cluster and some cluster details. You see immediately in the cluster details here that I have some read and write problems. They're in red. You see that the writes are going up over time in the little graph. So something going on here. And then of course you see the two controllers in my cluster. This one was full, we already saw that. The other one is happily sending and receiving data, but has some I/O problems too. And you can select an aggregate. Notice again the relationships. If I click another controller, hey, you get other aggregates here. Automatic relationships. There you go. Netapp volume, Netapp lens, and so on. Other interesting stuff here in the details for Netapp. Let's see. VM performance. Very nice. This screen will give you the relationship between the virtual machines and the Netapp layer. So you see here for my Postgres VM at the moment, at the VM level, so at the VMware level, I have some issues. Write latency is very high and IOPS are rather low, or high, sorry. They just went up very high. And you see the related Netapp volume, it's full, and the host system, the ESX system, all of this is connected to, many problems here. And same thing for the data stores here. It's probably this one. Yeah, here you go. So all of these dashboards you can use out of the box. You can also reinstall them if you mess them up. But of course, these are the three important facts that I wanted to point out to you. But of course, it becomes really interesting if you use our management packs and if you start gathering data and if you start defining what are the dashboards that would be really useful to me or my customer that we can use on a daily basis to make vRops really work in our environment. And for that, of course, you can use the views or the dashboards that we create in your own, or you can create your own dashboards from scratch. And I want to show you an example that we created to show you the full stack with several of our products, and this one. And of course we create a little problem just to make it more fun for you. This is a complete stack where I have in one dashboard, this is pretty special, where I have in one dashboard my view on the database, a Microsoft SQL Server. I have two instances here, and it goes over the virtual machines, the ESX server, the UCS blades, because I'm using a FlexPod architecture here, meaning UCS blade server, Cisco UCS, with Cisco networking and Netapp storage. So I see with my UCS management pack the UCS blades. I see with my Cisco networking pack the Cisco switches and the Netapp storage. And this means I have a complete stack view in one simple little dashboard. Imagine that. And you will see again the relationships. My first instance here is very busy. This is the workload. Second one is also very busy. But notice that I won't digress on this. We have other demos for that. But in all of our database packs, we can also see the queries, the database queries. So you see here, what are the slowest queries on my database? Again, without agents. And you see that this database instance has an IOPS problem. One of the KPIs became yellow. It's for write IOPS, IO operations per second. So when I scroll down, I see that this SQL Server instance is running on this virtual machine. And the virtual machine also has big write problems, latency and IOPS. When I scroll down, I go deeper in the stack. I go to the ESX host. I see the same problems there, but even worse. And when I go down, the UCS blade is fine. It would be a surprise if there was anything wrong with the hardware blade. The memory is fine, no errors here. The fiber interconnect switches in the Cisco world are fine too. These connect your UCS racks to the networking environment. They're happily sending and receiving data, no problems. And I see I'm connected to one Cisco Nexus switch, Nexus 5000. It is running fine too. So for once, we can't blame it on the networking people. It seems to be another problem. Even the network port, I can see my blade is connected on port 6 of my Nexus 5000. It is fine. But the problems reappear in the VMware data store, big time. Red KPI for write latency and write IOPS. And if you dive down, well, the Netapp related to this has huge problems too. So notice that in 2 minutes or less, I have drilled down from the database to a problem in the Netapp to probably a phone call from someone who says, hey, the application is slow or the database is slow, and I dive right into the LUN that the problem is there. And if I go to the details of the LUN, here I will see, even in the summary screen, I will already see the problem. I see that the capacity remaining is 0%. The stress is nearly 100%. Why? Because the workload is 100%. So in other words, I have a LUN here that is full, but I keep writing data to it. And if you know Netapp, you know that Waffle really doesn't like it if the LUN is getting full, because then it has a hard time, has to do a lot of work to allocate new blocks in Waffle, and the workload goes up and your performance goes down. So in 2 seconds, I have found this error, and I'm able to take actions on it. In the alerts, you will see that symptoms are triggered that I can use in my smart alerts. Of course, they coincide with what I just saw. The capacity is critically low, the workload is critically high, and you see here why they have been triggered. So your whole Netapp environment under control. The big advantage is, of course, that our management pack doesn't focus on storage alone. It brings your storage environment in vRealize operations so that you can link it to your whole environment and that you can link everything together. If a database is slow, you can drill right down into the stack and get to where the error lives. Is it storage? Is it networking? Is it something else? So this is our management pack for Netapp storage, general storage. We also have a management pack, let me show you briefly, for Netapp e-storage, which lives here for the E-series adapter. Totally different architecture. So you see in the summary screen here a totally different inventory tree with the pools and the trays and networking and slots here, disk slots, everything is here. Again with the details, and we have also the dashboards here, of course. Everything that I showed you for fast storage is valid, of course, for e-storage. And of course, the beauty is if you have both, you can mix them in your dashboards. Again, standard dashboards here for Netapp E-series, like overview, a dynamic disk pool overview. Here you go. I have one disk pool here, metric charts, alerts, health and properties, and relationships, of course, as usual. And we also have now a new management pack for Netapp HCI. So this concludes this little demo. If you like a trial of this or access your own demo, we can help you with that and give you more information in the session. Thank you.